Yeah, that pretty much sums up this entire experience. Sushi Squad vs. the Just Us League is hands down one of the most mediocre games I have ever had the displeasure of playing. Similar games being Gotham Knights, Star Meh, and Lemmings. Nah, take that back. Probably like the last 3 Far Cry games. I partly blame the success of Assassin's Creed 2, which gave us the birth of Ezio Auditore Differenze.
Me! Ezio Auditore!
And Assassin's Creed Brotherhood for more Ezio, Assassin's Creed Revelations for even more Ezio, which all contributed to the current state of Ubisoft. Yes, we get it, Ubisoft. Ezio's a hero among heroes. But could we move the timeline along now? Thanks. I'm pretty sure this was the end of creativity for Ubisoft, the moment in time when the suits realized, wait, can just roll out what is essentially the same game over and over again, then people will keep buying it. What else can we cut back on? Streamline. Hey dumbass, this is a really great intro and all, but the game you're about to discuss wasn't made by Ubisoft. It was developed by Rocksteady. Oh, bollocks. You can quickly discern that most aspects of the Suicide Squad were created with a complete lack of passion. In contrast, the Arkham trilogy stands out as a clear labor of love. Honestly, all 3 of them are like god-tier games. If you haven't played the Arkham series yet, do yourself a favor and schedule a couple of weeks. Well, if you have a life, then make that a few months worth of time. Stock up on a bunch of your favorite snacks. If Batman can consume 4,000 calories a day, then so can you. Pour yourself a nice cup of tea, sit back, relax, and take your time. Now, the game starts off with a quick intro mission that serves as a brief introduction for each of the main squad members, where you learn the basics of how to play each character. Honestly, it's very standard. After this section, there's this absolutely bizarre stop-motion sequence that reminds me of a Skyrim loading screen, except all the models are stuck in these incredibly awkward poses. After that rather peculiar experience, you end up inside of the Hall of Jaffa Cakes. Sorry, the Hall of Justice, where one of the best scenes in this game occurs.
That's why he's the GOAT!
You run into more cutscenes. Yeah, it's annoyingly heavy with these. In this one, the developers seem to almost be going for that cringy, cool guys don't look explosion shot. Having so many cutscenes early on wears thin fairly fast. You haven't even had a chance to run around and play the game yet. It's as if you're a tiny dog on one of those extendable leashes, about to run off towards a new frontier when the devs suddenly yank you right back again. Overly handholdy is what it is. Speaking of bad cutscenes, there's also this one. How are they not running out of fudging ammo? They're pissing bullets away like a diabetic with a pack of Skittles. And Harley has a revolver, for goodness sake, not a machine gun. What the hell is going on at Rocksteady? Who looked at this scene and thought, yeah, looks fine to me? Imagine this scene playing out again, but this time it's just Batman in the shot and he's throwing a seemingly endless number of batarangs. And while yes, I know he doesn't fire them out of a bat gun, it would be just as equally ridiculous. I did my best to estimate the number of bullets Harley fired, and my estimate came to at least 18. I mean, look, all the guns would need reloading. The only one I'd make an exception for is King Shark's minigun. Later on, when, don't ask me, I'm actively trying to forget this game, you go on a mission wherein Batman is hunting you, which completely blindsided me at the time. It gave me hope for a split second, tricking my brain into thinking, oh, so this is where the game ramps up the pressure, before cruelly dashing my hopes all over the floor like a carton of spilt milk. This would have been a fantastic point for the Justice League to stop playing around and become a much more active threat, totally changing the player's experience, where before you were very literally bouncing around the city, beating up robots, and running a 9,000th waste of time side mission. Rocksteady, this was a sublime opportunity to transform the player experience into something akin to a survival horror, and you flushed it away. You could have had constant pressure being applied by the evil ex-heroes, forcing the squad to become more serious and much more focused on taking out the League. And not just because they're forced to by Waller, or more accurately, because of the explosion devices she implanted within them. Boom! Now, because if they don't, it's all ogre, man. You know how most games display a seizure warning right at the start? Well, the one in this game should state this instead. With how much is on screen all at once, there are times in this game that I genuinely believe the devs are actively trying to make your brain implode. I can't even remember what half these trackers are for. Numbers are constantly exploding out of the robots you're fighting, the colours of the numbers are constantly changing, you've got shields exploding out of thin air, and flying across your screen. Enemy projectiles are lit up like glow sticks, and when you do defeat enemies, they will explode, obstructing 95% of your vision. I'm convinced half the player deaths are caused by this dumb fisheye effect that consumes half the screen whenever your character's health reaches critical. One time when it would be really helpful to see what's going on around you, and the developers thought that making the screen dimmer would be a fantastic idea. And when the robots punch the ground, light comes exploding out of the pavement. Why does this happen? I have no idea. There are times during combat when you may as well say sayonara to the minimap. You'll start seeing enemies, blobs of enemies, and even more blobs of enemies. The word enemies may as well be plastered where the minimap is in giant red font. Or, you know, have the Mortal Kombat announcer chime in.
Round 1, fight!
The Sushi Squad UI is so bad, I unironically think that the Rocksteady dev saw the Elden Ring UI meme and thought,
wow, what a fantastic idea. Let's create that for our game.
and it's not just the UI, the characters just won't stop talking. Rocksteady seems to be too terrified to leave you alone for a single second, because then you might leave and not spend $20 in their cash shop for a single skin. Just quite the difference from Arkham Knight. The gunplay is exceedingly average, with a punch thrown in to really spice things up. Now, when compared to the Arkham series, the combat in this game is a huge downgrade. It's the exact same problem Gotham Knights ran into. When you have 4 main characters, but you're unwilling to take the time to fully develop bespoke movesets for each one, all the characters start to feel the same. It's kind of like making gravy with far too much water. In a shooting game, this issue is exasperated. This character shoots, so does this one, her too, and him. You see my point? The movement is not exactly awe-inspiring either. Harley uses Batman's grappling gun to swing around from a flying drone like Spider-Man. King Shark stole the Incredible Hulk's entire moveset, and why did they give his arms this blue wind trail? I get the reasoning behind why the edges of Batman's cape, when gliding, makes use of wind trails to help create the illusion of speed. So in King Shark's case, this effect being placed on his ginormous arms makes no sense. I even checked to see if he has fins. He doesn't, which is a shame since this motion effect would work much better if King Shark did possess fins and was swimming underwater. Okay, hang on. I know I stated earlier that he stole the Hulk's moveset, but maybe it was Jason's. Don't you just long for the days when the hero's powers made sense? Captain Boomerang zips around all over the place with this Speed Force gauntlet. It grants him short bursts of speed, resembling the Flash. I have absolutely no idea how his body is not burning to a bloody crisp each time he uses it. Maybe someone can clue me in on this, but I always assumed when the Flash got his powers, his whole body changed to stay intact when he zooms around at redonkulous speeds. Because I'm pretty sure if you're a normal human and you try and use that gauntlet to move at super speed, you're just going to disintegrate. And quite by happenstance, Captain Boomerang exhibits an immunity to vertigo. I can tell you right now, if I was using that Speed Force gauntlet, it wouldn't be pretty. Deadshot's jetpack. I kind of like this one. It was done fairly well. The movement is kind of janky at times, which lines up with the story, seeing how he picked it up a few hours ago from the Hall of Justice, so it follows that Deadshot's not going to be flying around with a whole lot of precision. Some of the character choices in this game are absolutely terrible. Here's an easy example of one of the most baffling decisions I've seen. They took a character like Deadshot, whose primary prowess lies in being one of the best marksmen in the world.
This motherfucker don't miss.
Stuck him on a team with a giant man shark, a gymnast/psychiatrist who's off their coconut, and a man that's so out of his gourd, he thinks that the best way to defeat his enemies is to throw boomerangs at them. And somebody over at Rocksteady had the brilliant idea to give them all guns.
He does exactly what I do.
Utterly wasting what's unique about Deadshot. I mean, what's he gonna do?
I use smaller bullets.
My mind boggles at the reason behind giving a gun to a shark man, whose defining traits are being able to swim incredibly well underwater, but also tear someone in two with his bare hands without any effort. On top of that, he's the offspring of an old god. Why Rocksteady chose to add Harley Quinn and Captain Boomerang to the roster in a story where they would be going up against an evil or corrupted version of the Justice League is beyond me. I mean, these are characters that would struggle against Batman. Having the ability to wield a baseball bat and chuck boomerangs apparently qualifies you as best picks to take out Batman, the Flash, Green Lantern, and Superman. The only members of the squad whom I would buy as having a shot at this would be King Shark and Deadshot. Although Deadshot would probably need some type of gimmicky bullet, wouldn't he? Rocksteady obviously chose these members for their recognizability, thanks to the last two Sushi Squad movies, which probably also served as a catalyst for the game's development. Not being happy with the limitations imposed by the three powerless members on the team, I've decided to create my own list. Here are my picks for a more capable and compelling team. First up, you got Deathstroke, who's fast, strong, and an expert martial artist, etc, etc. What I really picked him for is his brain power. Deathstroke's mind operates 9 times faster than the average person. He's already proven himself a capable leader of the Sushi Squad in the past. Let's also not overlook the fact that he's a brilliant strategist, able to juggle multiple complex scenarios with ease. Deathstroke provides the team with an effective leader, capable of matching Batman when it comes to grey matter. Squad member number 2, Killer Frost. Frost possesses cryokinesis, which allows her to do things such as generate ice spikes, spears, and manipulate ice in various forms. Her abilities under the right circumstances could pose a threat to the Flash. And another power Frost has in her deck that's more like a double-edged sword is heat absorption, both enabling and requiring her to absorb a person's body heat to stay alive. I've been tinkering with this concept for a while. It holds promise in impeding each of the corrupted heroes. Possibly even Superman. If Frost could siphon a portion of the solar radiation, which is also energy, along with his body heat, and we'll presume Superman survives this process, since it would make for a rather dull battle if he was instantly defeated. It's likely he would experience physiological effects, weakening him and making it difficult for him to use his superpowers effectively. These effects would include hypothermia, decreased metabolic activity resulting in fatigue, weakness, and impaired cognitive function. Hey Rocksteady, can we get a Superman game now? Thanks. Number 3, Enchantress. Has a whole bunch of abilities. A couple that interest me gameplay-wise would be her ability to use magic and create illusions. She can manipulate a person's thoughts and memories. She could make Brainiac see a giant flying Pac-Man, which would be one hell of a distraction. For the last spot, you can either stick with King Shark or trade him out for someone like El Diablo, though the combination of a pyromancer and a cryomancer existing on the same team may lead to an overload of cringe. I selected these four not just for strategic reasons, but also for fun. It would be cool if instead of just shooting guns all the time, you had the option to use magic, superpowers, and as a cherry on top, I left in a dark brooding guy for those that miss Batman. No, Batman! Their powers would need balancing. One member that I'm a bit shaky on is Enchantress, who has the capability to alter reality. Alright, maybe she's a little too strong. Additionally, yes, I'm aware I did hype up Killer Frost a fair bit.
You are my queen.
The really great thing about this squad I made is that if you're not happy with it, you can construct your own. The Suicide Squad has seen numerous members come and go over the decades. So many in fact that I am stunned by the lack of creativity Rocksteady displayed in their own iteration. Rather, I would be if the game was not pumped out as a shameless cash grab, with the sole intention of leeching money from the player base for years to come. Let's be honest, King Shark was only added to the team as a token gesture. I could go on about this game and how bad it is forever, but since I've drunk 7 cups of tea, I'm starting to get the jitters. So I'll say goodbye. Like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more. Goodbye. Explosion.